hours, and you have to pay them a lot more than I'm used to paying in Chicago.
Good.
But they're good. You get way more shit done.
No
and
kidding.
I was like, okay, I get it. I get it. Why people come out here. But I was very suspicious of
Really?
LA.
Really?
Otherwise,
Well, you thought it was all polished idiots who didn't understand art?
No, I thought there wasn't enough suffering here. I was hung up on the idea that I was still. This is a long time ago. I thought that suffering was essential to adversity, like Chicago. It's like we make art to get through the winter and keep from going insane or just fighting off seasonal depression.
Right.
And you see what you come out with in the spring.
Right. When the flowers come, you see what your flowers look like.
And I came out to LA. I was like, these plants aren't indigenous. What's going on?
Yeah. No one's indigenous here. What's everybody wearing shorts for? Yeah, I get it. There's plenty of suffering out here. I think you probably learned.
No, it's sometimes you have to manufacture it. But,
yeah.
It's
It's a whole different type of suffering. It's not seasonal. It's just like the sunshine around here. The suffering is year round out here. But then, so then you kind of so you take, as the albums progress, do you still, I mean, outside of the Christmas record or whatever else you're doing, do you still see them all as, because you said something earlier about, you kind of take into mind the music and the lyrics and the artwork, like all of that. Do you still approach all records like that as singular pieces in and of themselves, outside of the songs necessarily?
Yes. Now it's just like in this cycle of there's the songs that just accumulate over the course of like 2 years and all the stuff that I'm concerned about during that time, and I just wait for them to come. I don't force anything usually. How
does it happen? What comes first? The melody?
The melody almost always comes first.
Really?
If the lyrics come first, it's a different kind of tune.
Really? Why? Because you got. Why is that?
Well, okay. So I got the usual way it happens is it's a melody, and I think this melody is so good it keeps coming back without having to record it or remind myself. It just keeps coming back, and so I know I've got to do something with this, and I know in order to do the melody justice, the human voice is what needs to carry it. So now I need words, and then you're just kind of running the numbers. This is what I do when I have insomnia at night. Like I'm just trying to crack the code of the melody, the shape of the melody, with words, and I just sort of point the melody at a subject that I'm thinking about.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
And I just kind of aim it at it and like see if they can eventually fit, and try not to let the words compromise the melody too much. Like I'm right in the thick of that as we speak. And because I take the words out and the melody sings, and I put the words in and it kind of cramps the melody style a little bit.
Drags it down. And, words are dragging your melody down.
But I love word. I mean, I love words too. And sometimes I can have a motif, some kind of thing something gets under my skin, a melody.
Yeah.
And sometimes a word gets under my skin or a phrase.
Right. Yeah.
I'm working on this song right now about like human molting. Like how animals molt. They shed their skin or their feathers or their fur. Like I feel like every season I kind of emotionally, physically molt in a way.
Yeah.
Like I go into this hibernating, weird, like low-grade fever, and it happens with such regularity that I'm like starting to think like maybe I'm molting, So,
but I mean, when you molt, do you emerge a chrysalis or just you again?
Yeah, I mean it's really unpleasant. It's really unpleasant for 2 weeks, and then I come out like a newborn foal.
Huh.
I'm full of energy and clarity, but I have to go through this very unpleasant, really physiological experience.
But you've never pathologized it? You've never thought you were ill in some way?
No, I mean, everyone around me thinks I'm depressed, but I'm like, I swear to God, I've got some.
I'm just molting. Do you tell them that?
I'm just yeah. That's what I tell my wife, and she just rolls her eyes.
Here we go with the molting again.
So anyway, I'm writing this song where I've got a melody, and I remember I don't know where I heard this, but it was like, I think it was like a New Yorker comic or something where there's a baby in a crib in an ICU or whatever.
Yeah.
Not ICU, but the prenatal thing and
maternity ward.
And the baby says, "OMG, I just got born." And I like that. I just got born. I was like, okay, let me work that in there somehow.
Uh-huh.
Because that's a little more compared to like saying molting and sheathing and exoskeleton, like trying to work that into a song.
I just got born is funny too. It's got a little jokey to it. Yeah.
Anyway, so that's like a pretty early phases of that song won't be ready for another 2 years, but
wow. So, and you just accept that this is going to be in the hopper for 2 years.
Yeah, and they're like, I can only maintain because like I said, I work on these when I can't sleep. So I pull out a file in my head, or when I'm waiting for a plane or whatever, some idle time. You pull out this file and you like hammer at it.
Yeah.
And I have a pretty good playback system in my head, so I can demo things in my head.
That's good.
I'm working on.
Yeah.
And these songs become like my companions for that period of time, for that 2 or 3 years until I get it down.
And then what? And how is it different when you start with words?
They tend to be more rhythmic.
Because the melody's not first, so you have a little more freedom, a little more leeway with yourself.
Yeah,
right.
Like Sisyphus. Sisyphus peered into the mist, a stone's throw from the precipice paused.
Right.
Like that was not melody driven.
Exactly.
Or
right.
Sauvé was like, and they tend to be a little more. They're not too far, though maybe culturally far away from, but they're not too far away from the process of a rapper, honestly.
Right. Sure.
I think you're looking for good rhythm and rhyme.
And you don't know, they just come like the melodies, just sort of out of nowhere. A few things come together.
Yeah, a few things come together. I kind of just recede into myself and get that 1,000-yard stare, and I'm kind of in here, just sort of running numbers, running codes, running. Doing crosswords. It's sometimes it's not as it's creative, but it's not. You know what I mean? It's like
right. I imagine that if you're a melody guy, that's a little more enchanting in some way. Where words are kind of like they're like math problems.
Exactly. And melodies, I simply cannot tell you where they're coming from.
Right, and that's the amazing thing. Like I like that even when I'm improvising. Comedy where the ideas are that moment where your brain needs to get the laugh, but you don't know how it's going to come, and something comes out of you, and you're like, "Wow, that was exciting." Where did that come from?
Yeah,
I don't know.
I know. I feel an affinity with comedians. Honestly, I feel like when I get up on stage, I shrug my shoulders. Like I don't know, folks. This is just what's.
Yeah. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm impressed by comedians, a profession where you're living by your wits. I think that seems noble to me.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
And it's scary.
It is.
Like getting ready to do this interview, I realized I get to play a song.
Yeah.
That's my security blanket. But otherwise, I'm being judged on my personality right now.
Yeah, I think you're doing very well.
That's scary.
I think you... No, I'm serious. Like, it's weird. I mean, you're being judged on personality. I didn't know you, though. And I had thought certain things, but it is different. When you have... I've always thought that music is magic in a way. Where, like, if you're just doing jokes... I mean, you can do them a few times, but they're going to wear out. Whereas, like, you got music. not only can you hide behind it or whatever you think you're doing, or it gives you an assist, but a song can stay with somebody forever and actually change as time goes on. Whereas a joke, but it's just like you did it though. It's interesting that I didn't really think about it like that, because you remembered that joke. Like sometimes a joke is exactly what you need, and sometimes they're old jokes, and sometimes they're good points of reference, but they're not the same as a song,
Yeah, but I mean, whether they're you've done them a million times to the audience, you're living by the seat of your pants, like you're.
Yeah, I try never to do a joke a million times. God forbid. Yeah. That'd be like a nightmare. That's like the worst dream ever. You'd be stuck in a joke.
Yeah, I mean, you just feel like I feel like when I'm playing night after night shows and I say a similar banter to what I did the night before.
Sure.
I feel like such a fraud.
Imagine doing it for a living, dude.
I know.
So how do you choose this, like, on the new record, on the Hark record? I mean, some of them are your songs, some of them are songs you like, correct?
Yeah, I just, they were all at arm's reach. They were all, sometimes with an album, you just put a bunch of stuff in a room and see if they get along. I started off just thinking I'm going to do a Vince Guaraldi cover album, put together a great bunch of jazz musicians and just play Vince Guaraldi tunes. Yeah. And then I got a little greedy and I wanted to write some originals.
And you see them as holiday music?
Oh, the ones that I wrote? Yeah, I thought, well, that's kind of what gets a songwriter up in the morning, is thinking, this morning I could write the song that gets everybody singing the same tune, and what better place to do that than
right.
Like, what if you could get a song into the holiday canon?
Yeah.
Not only would you be set,
right.
But so I thought, try to reinvigorate the tired canon of holiday music with some choice covers that I think deserve entry. I set the bar pretty low. You just have to either mention Christmas or snow or something, and that's good. As long as it's a good piece of music, then let's do it. But when I wrote the originals, like Alabaster, I tried to write the first couple originals I tried to write were too dark. You ask yourself when you're writing something like,
the dark Christmas songs?
Yeah, does the world really need this? Is this what people? Because it's a utilitarian thing, like Christmas music. It's like you put it on to create an atmosphere. It's not being.
I noticed that. Yeah, right. Yeah. When I was listening to it, I thought, like, all right, so this is like the fire's going, families around. Yeah. Right. You did it, but you did that great John Prine song. Isn't that a John Prine song on there?
It is. Yeah, Souvenirs.
Yeah.
Which I've been covering that for years. I didn't really think it, but then it's like, he's talking about like the post Christmas, crash. And it's such an evocative tune. I thought
that's a little bitter, a little dark.
Yeah. It's talking about memories and nostalgia and feeling kind of betrayed by your memories, I guess.
And Green Wine, is that an old melody? Is that
that's Green Sleeves?
Green Sleeves, right? Sleeves. Okay, there you go.
Yeah, so I've always loved that melody, and I mashed that up with a Handsome Family tune about mental illness and alcoholism and Christmas.
Yeah, the Handsome Family subgenre. Alcohol, mental illness.
Pretty much.
I like them. They live in my hometown. I've interviewed them.
Oh, you're from Albuquerque?
Yeah.
Nice.
I grew up there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in the movie you say you're from New Mexico. That's for real. Okay.
It's for real, man. I grounded that improvisation in my own life.
Yeah. And then the whole Lower East Side.
Well, yeah, no, the Lower East Side, I lived there for a long time. But, like, my parents are from Jersey, but I grew up in New Mexico. That's where my dad settled in the early 70s. So that's what I consider home.
Okay.
So which one of these original Christmas standards are you going to play?
I was thinking Green Wine, and then I thought maybe Christmas in April.
Christmas in April.
It's up to you. I can do either one.
Is that what is that? A ukulele?
It's the violin.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'll do. Since we talked about green wine, let's do green wine. Okay.
Okay.